Tavern. Today we are talking about the video game Ori and the Blind Forest, so consider yourself spoiler warned if you have not completely played through this game yet. We will not be holding back. So grab an ale and pull up a chair. I'm Emma, your friendly barkeep, along with Allison.
Hello.
And Christiana.
Hi.
And we are so happy to have you here. Cheers.
Cheers.
So this is our first time discussing a video game on the podcast, which is super exciting. Listeners, please bear with us. We're kind of going to be working our way through how to talk about world building in a video game setting, so if it's a little different than some of our other podcast episodes, that's why. But we are all gamers. I think we would all say that semi-confidently.
Yep.
So This was super fun, and I must say, I really like playing a video game as homework. It's
such good homework.
It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I have to play this video game.
Homework. All the homework for the show is fun,
it's super fun.
But this
it's
one
great.
Particularly, I'm really excited to hear what you guys thought about the game, because it was both your first time playing it.
Yeah,
right?
I'd played it before, but not all the way through. So I'd started it. I probably got about a third of the way through. So it was nice to actually go through and finish it.
I've been seeing Christiana has some videos on our World Builders Tavern TikTok of her reactions to it, which are wonderful.
Yeah, I suck so hard at this game.
Same.
I wanna defend myself a little bit here. And this is my pep talk to listeners. I was always very average at video games despite spending an exorbitant amount of time playing them, and I accepted that. I was like, I'm never going to be phenomenal at this, but I have fun with it. And then I got arthritis and I lost probably 60% of fine motor skills in my hands.
Oh,
so platforming is so hard.
Oh,
for
I bet.
me.
Yeah.
That's what this game is.
And that's the whole game.
It's
so I'm
it
took me a genuinely embarrassing amount of time just to get past the first introductory level. And I was like, that's the first level. And then I was like, oh, that was the introduction. Oh no. But once you get used to it, it was a lot better. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's so beautiful and just so heartbreaking and
so
lovely.
pretty.
It is.
My partner stood there behind me and was like, I could just watch you play this for hours because it's so pretty. And I'm like, I know. So that brings me to the question I wanted to ask for this episode. How do we write this pretty?
Right.
Because we don't have these visuals, but I want my writing to be so this beautiful. How do we do that?
Yeah, it's tough because everyone visualizes things differently when they're reading, right? So I know one of my very good friends does book cosplays, and they do cosplays based off of what the book characters are described as. And she is so precise and fantastic and pulls from direct lines in books and things like that. And it's so interesting and fantastic. And she always laughs at me because in my head, the moment I picture a character, that is how that character is for the rest of the story. So if they're here's Bob, and I picture Bob as a balding middle-aged dude, if in the next sentence they're Bob was ripped and 7 feet tall and green, I'm like, nope, he's still a balding middle-aged dude. I can't for some reason change it.
Yeah. For me, I don't visualize things very well. There's a few years ago, I realized that there actually that was a thing. There's a spectrum of how well you can visualize things. Yep. And if you're on the 0 to very low end, there's a name for it, it's called aphantasia, where you can't see things in your mind's eye, which I have. So I don't picture things. I always thought that was a metaphor when someone's picture something in your head. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a nice metaphor. I'm like, wait, you're actually picturing things in your head? This is so unfair. So
I just saw that graph on Twitter where it's it sort of shows the degrees. Yeah. So there's an apple that's just beautifully fully illustrated. Then there's an apple that's kind of just red with a little bit of color, and then it slowly fades, and then the last one is just white, just nothing. Which is funny because I'm basically the most visual you can
I'm
get.
So jealous.
For my brain.
Yeah. I'm the same way, Allie, but like I said, for some reason my brain, once it picks an image, it sticks with it. I can see it super clearly. I just can't convince my brain. If I find out a character's hair color later in the story, I cannot change the hair color from what I first imagined. Like my brain like locks it in and is like, that's them now.
Well, it's nice that we have a mix.
Yeah.
Because I think when you're writing or DMing or whatever you're doing, you kind of want to be able to speak to both types of brains.
Totally. I would say so I really like the subject of looking at world building through how do you be inspired by visuals and how do you bring that to written work. If I can make a suggestion for us how to tackle this, I would say as we're going through, how about we talk about each topic in terms of sort of with the visuals? Because some of our listeners, I'm sure, are visual creatives. Like you've got graphic novelists. Maybe we even have some people listening who make video games or film. So I think it's important to talk about how we do it visually, but then maybe we also talk about if you're not a visual creative, how do you do this in other sort of creative forms?
Yes. I think like the majority of our listeners, at least the people from our Discord, are novelists. So like I want to make room for other people as well, but just acknowledging that a lot of the time we're talking about just text, which is actually something I want to talk about if we want to dive into the very beginning of Ori. So I was playing through this and I noticed that so you have this narrator talking above you as you're going around doing the intro stuff, learning how to play and stuff. And I was listening to it and I'm like, if you did this in a book, this would be boring. This would be all the telling and not showing, and it wouldn't work. But it works here because I'm running around while you are talking to me. I'm thinking about the story as I'm figuring out how to work these mechanics, as I'm being delighted with the visuals. So it all works together in a way that just wouldn't work in a novel.
Yeah, it's a very similar, I think, to graphic novels in that it's combining visuals with text. It's not just one or the other. So I think Ori did a really good job of combining those. The text added, because you sometimes have a thing where this text is just superfluous. Like the image is already doing all of the work. You don't need that text there. Why is it there? Take it out. What you really want is that balance of what Ori has, which is this text is adding something, but you also get all of these visuals which are fully rounding out the world, and it wouldn't be as good without either of those components. Because you really want everything in your whatever kind of narrative you're crafting. You want everything to be there for a reason and to be doing a job, which is really nice when that works out well.
I also loved that the narrator wasn't talking in English. Like, I don't know, that just endeared it to me.
Yeah. Also, nothing thrills me more than a good booming voice. You know, like like the power that was held in that voice was really strong too.
Yeah, it was a really good narrator. I can't. Who are we supposed to know who's narrating? Is it the tree or is it Ori
the tree
itself? Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, because it talks
Our
about
life.
It says my
child and things.
I tried to reach out to my
yeah. Which I don't think is ever explicitly said. You just have to pick that up from the context clues. The voice never says, I am the spirit tree. I don't think, unless I missed it, but I don't think that they ever say.
Hello, dear players. I am the spirit tree.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, just bring me right back to like 90s.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how they set up the world, because the beginning of Ori and the Blind Forest is a sort of tutorial, so you're learning your skills as you're going. It's also kind of a film, because you're watching, it's a cut scene.
Yeah.
You're seeing things happen. They establish the world through a few different ways, through visuals, through sound. Let's talk about that. What was your experience when the first kind of Ori started? Do you feel like that was a good representation of the world? Did that carry throughout the rest of the game? Or did you feel like there was like a bait and switch at any point?
I was devastated when Naru died in the beginning. I was like, this is not fair. You mean I have to go through this whole scary game without my mommy? Like,
I
know. What kind of messed up person made this video game?
But then they redeemed themselves later.
Yeah, they did redeem themselves later, and it made it better.
Scene, Oh my gosh, they make you fall in love with her so
So
quickly. Like,
quickly.
she dies right at the beginning of the
Yep.
game. When that happens in a lot of stories, I'm like, I didn't care about that character anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't
I
matter.
think what did it for me, and I think I guess this is more character building a little bit than world building, but I think they did a fantastic job through the world building with the gathering the food, right?
Mm-hmm.
The bright light comes,
Yep.
Naru scoops up Ori, runs to the cave to protect their kid, which is already heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
And then going out and collecting food, and then they come back out and the forest is barren. Like, that tells you everything you need to know about what's happening very quickly. And then the fact that Noru gives the last fruit and tries to give it to Ori,
sweet.
and then Ori tries to like goes out and gets food on their own, and like just
And then comes back.
it's like, it reminds me of, you know how like the first 2 minutes of Up, the movie, are just like punching you in the heart repeatedly for no apparent reason. Like, there is a reason, it's for the story, but you're just like, why is this happening to me in a Pixar movie? I felt like that with the opening to Ori and the Blind Forest, where I was just like, I know there's a reason for this, but how dare you? Like, who gives you the right? But it was really, really well done.
Yeah. It was a great use of world building to give stakes to it, because
Yes.
you know, when you're starting the video game, you don't know that you can bring Naru back or that they're going to come back, right? You just, well, they're just gone. But now it's, you didn't just lose Naru, it was also the rest of this beautiful world that we had experienced and now is gone, and that's what we're trying to, you know, restore. And so having that as stakes is so important, because otherwise, well, why do we care that much? Yeah, it's fine, you're swinging through the forest and you're jumping on platforms, and that's the fun of a video game, but the story behind it is given so much more weight because of this world that we're trying to reclaim and get back.
Yeah, they really use the beauty of the world to the story's advantage.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, we can't let this gorgeous forest die. This has to, we have to make this better.
And I think that I'm thinking now in context of like Ori, when we start the game, is sort of in a way a post-apocalyptic story.
Kind
like
of,
this
yeah.
this devastating event has happened.
Yeah.
And because it's a fantasy world, because it's a world totally strange from our own, you do have to do that setting up of what the world was like before, I think, to really get those stakes. Whereas in contrast, we talked about Mad Max Fury Road a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
And we don't need that because that's our world. You know, it's a fantasy version of our world, but we know what's been lost. Whereas in Ori, we need to see what's been lost. So I think keep that in mind, is if you are creating an entirely new world in your story and there's something about it that you need to change, show us why we need it to change. What have we lost? What can we regain? Otherwise, your audience might not know entirely what the goal is.
Yeah.
Or we might not care.
Exactly. Yeah.
You got to make us care about it.
And it doesn't have to be right at the beginning of the story either, right? Like, if you want like kind of like this grim opening of someone slogging through muddy fields fighting a war for no reason, right? I think at least in the movies, Lord of the Rings is a pretty good example of that, right? It starts off really, really grim and dark, and then it cuts to the Shire, where it's like things are nice and happy, but it's not going to be like that for long. We already saw what it's going to be, right?
Yep.
So there are ways, it doesn't have to start off all happy, cheery, the world is perfect, something happens, now people are fighting for their lives. It could be told through characters telling stories or finding pictures and picture books, and right, like there can be other ways for that to happen, but I do think it was really smart for this game to do it right at the beginning, because then you're immediately invested. You're immediately like, I want this back.
Totally.
I particularly liked seeing things that I knew I would be able to change in the future.
Yes.
So like the not dirty water, but like poisonous water.
Yes, the acid.
And like, oh, there's stuff down there that I can collect. I just can't get to it right now.
The number of times I tried to like get to a platform or reach a thing and would die like a dozen times before giving up, and then later realizing I could never get that thing at that point. I didn't have the right skill.
So many times too. Yeah. I'm just like dying 15 times in a row, and then eventually I was like, maybe I'm just not supposed to go there yet. I don't know why that didn't dawn on me sooner.
The worst is when The worst is when I do that, and then I realized I could have gotten there, and I just
didn't do it right.
do the right thing, and I'm like, and I just gave up too soon. But yeah.
No, that was part of the world that I also really liked and wanted to talk about, was the fact that in an interactive medium like this, it's really nice to see the characters, or in this case, which is also the player, which is kind of fun and different from text where you're actually involved in the world, but you get to interact with and change the world. Your actions have an impact. And that's not always the case in video games, but I think a lot of the time it is. No matter what you're doing, you're kind of having an impact on the world. And it's cool to see those breadcrumbs of how that's going to play out farther down the line, like you said, of, oh, I can change that later. Or coming back to the same areas later and them being changed is really cool.
Yeah, it's also interesting with Ori. I think there are some things that you don't have to do to beat the game. Like, I'm pretty sure I missed a skill in my very first playthrough. I think Emma mentioned this.
I got 80% of the way through and realized I didn't have the dash skill, and then went back and got it, and then banged my head into the wall for 5 minutes thinking about how much easier so many things would have been if I had had this skill.
I think I might have played my entire first playthrough without the dash.
That would have been so
difficult. I feel this. I know. Yeah. We're just making our life hard.
Yeah.
For us. I think I might have also played without that skill you get that like lights lanterns and lets you
really
find hidden stuff.
Yeah.
I can't remember. So like you don't have to do everything, and you certainly don't have to do 100% completion.
Yeah,
which I always try and do that.
Yeah,
that's me, and not everyone is like that.
Yeah, I was struggling so hard with it. I was like, "Good God, just let me finish this game." I was like, "I want to know the story," and I keep dying.
That's totally as many people will say, "Oh, you have to do it this way," and I'm like, "Do it how it's fun." For
yeah,
you.
Exactly. That's always the thing.
Fun.
And I think that's the thing for me. A big thing with video games, because my hands don't work so well, and I know that I'm not going to be fantastic at them. As long as I'm having fun with it, it's still worth my time.
Exactly.
But I think it's also like that with stories too, right? I think that's something to consider when you're world building. If you're building a world and you're just like banging your head against the wall constantly and being like, I don't think this works, this doesn't make sense, and it's a frustrating experience for you, you are the god of that world. You can just change it. Like, you don't have to torture yourself to try and make something absolutely perfect or smash it into a specific genre. Let it be, as long as you're having fun with it, right?
I mean, for me, sometimes, like, as a professional writer, sometimes it's just
I was gonna say,
and you just have to
sometimes,
you know that too.
Yeah. I mean, in the like grand, if it's like really not working for you, maybe take a step back and be like, why is it not working for me? Writing is work though. The only way writing gets done is with butts and seats. So
Yep.
Hello, world builders. Allison here, interrupting your regular episode for a quick announcement. Next week, on March 8th, we will be releasing a special bonus episode on our Patreon, in which the podcast hosts and special guest Kyle build a fantasy world together. Each of us take on the personas of deities to put together this world, its geography and history from scratch. And the exciting part is that we are putting it in the public domain for our patrons, so you can use it for your stories, D&D games, or what have you. It's also a great example of how to go through the process of building a world yourself. The episode will be released in both audio and video formats, so you can watch the world come to life if you choose. And this is the first of 3 episodes, so there's more to come. If that sounds interesting to you, hop over to patreon.com/worldbuilderstavern and support the show. Now back to the episode.
So one level I found really interesting, and I wanted to think about how to apply this to other areas of creativity, is the Misty Woods area that like changed as you were going through it. And I was like, this is really interesting, and it works so well in a video game that like you're going forward and then you go back, but suddenly back isn't back anymore, and you're somewhere completely different. And I'm like, how would you? This would be a really interesting like maze in a novel idea, or like in a D&D game if you had like your players go through. And I was talking to my partner who's a DM about like, how would you do this, like practically speaking, in a D&D game or an RPG. And he's like, I think you could like sort of make a bunch of like a series of like a grid of square rooms and kind of like
shift them around,
adapt it. So yeah,
it does happen a lot. I don't have a ton of experience with that in tabletop gaming, but as a horror fanatic, I think that is almost a horror trope. You see it in movies like Grave Encounters, where they enter a building the movie is about like a film crew going to film haunted things. They're all skeptics. They don't believe in it. They're just doing it for money. They go into a building and then the door disappears behind them. And then hallways are changing and things like that. And they're bursting through doors to find the room that they were just in and that kind of stuff. And there's also The Cube is another one with a very similar thing. And even Maze Runner is a novel. I think the Maze and Maze Runner would kind of fall into that as well.
Yep. Yeah, because it was shifting.
Yeah.
It's very disconcerting in a video game because
you're
part of me is always like, I can always go back, you know? If I can't figure out this area, I can go back. But in this section, it's like, nope, you have to figure it out or you're lost forever.
Yeah, I think the one thing that video games have a little bit over other mediums is that kind of like autonomy. You are the person working your way through the story, right? It's on you a little bit. It's in the same way I absolutely love horror movies, but I'm so scared to play horror games. I still do. I still torture myself. But it's watching a movie. You're like, I know this character is going to walk through the door and there's going to be something really scary in it. When I am the person in control of walking through the door, I'm like, I do not want to walk through this door, right? And it makes it that much more effective to me where it's like, oh, it's in your hands. You're the one who has to do it. Yeah, and I think that's
why I don't play horror games. It's terrifying.
Yeah, but even in games like this, it works because you're the one who's like controlling Ori through this kind of sad world. I say kind of sad. It's a horribly sad world. But like you're the one moving the person through it. If you want to see what happens next, you have to do the hard things. And that like adds another layer.
Yep. And I think thinking about, how would you translate that to a non-visual type of creative field? I think you'd have to think about the difference between, in a video game, you're more experiencing the world, whereas if you're reading about it, you are perceiving somebody else's experience of the world. You're watching the character. So I think you'd have to really think about the interaction between the world and the character. Is the changing world, if they go through a door and then they go through it a second time and it's completely different, is that something that's disorienting? Is that something that's delightful? So you'd have to really think about not just the world, but how the character interacts with it. Because worlds, for all that we love them and are gorgeous, they tend to be very sterile and static until a character interacts with them. And that's when you really see all of the facets of it.
Yeah, the key is getting your reader to empathize with the character going through these things, whatever that may look like.
I would find that so frustrating if it was in a D&D game, because I would be like so convinced that we just went in a different door or something. It would take so much for me to be like, okay, this room has actually changed. That would never be my first thought. So that would be, I think that'd be great. If somebody has used this in a D&D or other tabletop role-playing game, let us know. That sounds like super fun. How did it work out for you guys? Because I would, want to hear your stories.
Yeah, I think that would be really fun. I think it would be a little bit complex for the dungeon master. So I'm not surprised if not many have done it, but I think it would be really fun.
Yeah. I was just thinking, I think another thing to consider if you want to do something like this is what perspective you're writing from. I think first person perspective might be more effective in this because you're confused along with the character versus something like third person omniscient.
Yeah.
Because then you would kind of be like, why isn't the narrator telling me what's happening, right? Versus like that first person
would work.
Yeah.
Second person would work, I suppose.
Second person would be interesting. Yeah, you don't see a lot of second person, but I feel like if you were going to do second person, this could be an effective thing.
There is a great example of that. It is the second book in the Southern Reach trilogy. So the second book after Annihilation is Authority, and it's written in second person. And it's a very, very bizarre reading experience. But it works because there are a lot of weird little twists.
FYI, we're going to be talking about Annihilation in a future episode.
Yeah,
I
can't wait.
Made me read it. It's horrifying.
I'm forcing my creepy habits on all my friends. So.
I think when you're building worlds for different mediums, it's really important to think about all of the senses that will interact with that medium and use them to the full extent. One thing that I loved in Ori loved and hated was how stressed I was during the sort of boss, not fights, but for Ori, when you finish a level, you have to do this really tough sort of run through where you can't save partway through, and if you die, you just keep starting over.
So stressful.
So stressful because not only are the visuals and it's challenging, but the music is going crazy. The haptics, if you have it like your controller is like rumbling like crazy. So the fact that all of those senses were engaged was great, and it wouldn't have been nearly as stressful if my controller hadn't been rumbling or if the music hadn't been going haywire. So let's talk about that. How do we make sure that we are using each medium to its full extent while world building?
I loved the intensity of the music in
Yeah.
those scenes. Mm-hmm. It just makes makes your heart beat faster as you're like, oh, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Start over again.
After a while, for someone who struggled with the game, it did lose its effect after I died like
that's fair
40 billion times. But I think the music was also so good for the sad parts, like with the baby birds, the little baby owls. I was like, arrows straight through the heart. Like, why are you doing this to me? It would have been incredibly sad without the music, but like the music throughout all of it is just so spot
gorgeous.
on.
I love the music. So if you are writing a novel or something where you can't have background music, I think a big part of accomplishing this kind of feel is pacing.
Yeah.
So making your scenes shorter or longer depending on if you're trying to be more relaxed or if you're trying to be
I think that could also break down to sentences too.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna say
like those really quick active sentences that's just like subject verb subject verb subject verb.
Yeah,
like those short stoppy sentences right after each other. I find myself getting kind of riled up, like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Yeah, and I mean, in the middle of an action scene, your character's not going to stop and like think about, oh, that's a nice rose over there. Like you're not going to have those little breaks. Whereas if you're in a more relaxing scene, you might have your character think about something, or it's a little bit slower.
Yeah, and I would say as sort of an exercise, if you are a writer and you're struggling with that, I would say take a step back, think about what is the primary emotion you're trying to convey with the scene, and then write a list of things that describe that emotion. So if it's stress, what is stress? Like, what are things that are stressful? It's harsh, it's abrupt, it's short, things like that. And then think about ways that you can convey that, not just in your descriptions, but even like Christiana said, the mechanics. Like, oh, if stress is abrupt, maybe I just use really short, jagged sentences. Or if it's sad and sad makes me feel lonely, how do I indicate that even with the formation of words on the page? And kind of think of it in that poetic sense, because the way we construct words on a page can be just as impactful as what those words are saying.
I think we could talk about this video game for hours.
Yeah, I think we could. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But this might be a good place for me to go into proprietor's pick.
Do it.
Yeah.
All right. So if you liked Ori and the Blind Forest, you might like this novel that was published on January 1st of this year called The Other Woods. Now, this book sounds a little bit creepier than Ori was, so I feel like Christiana's gonna like this.
Yeah, I'm on board.
And I'm reading a Goodreads review rather than the official summary because I actually like this review better. The Other Woods is a fabulous middle grade debut that tells the story of River, a non-binary kid with the ability to see spirits and monsters and to enter another dimension. River would prefer to keep away from all of those things, but when their friend/crush gets taken away into the Other Woods, River and their awesome cat, Pancakes, must face their fears and journey through a magical, terrifying world to save her, risking everything in the process. This is a wonderful book about real and metaphorical journeys and finding one's courage. That was a review by Sydney Dunlap from Goodreads. And I thought this sounded like such a fun book. And I picked middle grade as a genre because I feel like Ori would really translate to just a really sweet and terrifying middle grade novel.
Yeah, that sounds very applicable, which is awesome.
That sounds like my life story. A non-binary kid with an awesome cat. That's just me.
With the ability to see spirits and monsters.
The Other Woods is actually an unofficial or unauthorized biography of Christiana.
Exactly.
All right.
So you can pick up this book now, and if you do, let us know what you think of it.
Please do. And with that, I think it's time for some concluding questions. So let's have last call. Allison, Christiana, what should our listeners think about, or what lessons can they take from Ori to apply to their own world building?
So if you're building a world and your story revolves around that world a lot, what are you going to give the characters and what are you going to take away to motivate them? If it's so focused on the world, as Emma pointed out, we saw this beautiful world before it was taken away from us. That gave us stakes. That gave us something to care about. So if you're using the world as motivation, how is it going to change to motivate the characters?
Good question. Mine would be, if you're writing a novel, what are some techniques you can use? And several of them we talked about throughout this episode that you can use to get your readers to empathize with your character in a similar way that we empathize so much with Ori as we're playing this game.
This is sort of repeating myself because I did say this earlier, but I think it is a really important lesson, and something that I really took away from Ori was make sure to engage your audience's senses as much as possible and as many senses as possible. Think about every way that they are interacting with your medium, which goes as far as if it's a book, they're holding it, they're flipping pages. Think about every way that your audience is interacting with your creation and have every part of that creation be part of your world and part of the story that you're telling. And that is it for our last call. We could talk about this video game for hours, I'm sure, and I'm already looking
hours.
And I am already looking forward to playing its sequel, which is Ori and the Will o' the Wisp, which I have not played before, so I will definitely be diving into that. If you like this episode, if you've played Ori, if you have made a changing world for your tabletop role-playing game or other medium, please send us an email or send us a tweet or talk to us on TikTok. We have social medias. All of our contact information is listed in our show notes. So please, we would love to hear from you. Interact with us. But for right now, that is closing time. Thank you so much for joining us at the tavern, and we hope to serve you here again. Now scram.
Bye.